Phasing out Donald Trump. Welcome to Law and Society. Please subscribe. Let's just say this. Donald Trump is a has-been. The time has come for us to, as a culture and as a society, American society, to phase Trump out. He's a lame duck, he's destructive, he's racist, and he's not what America is all about. We know that he's corrupt. We know what he's doing with his self-enrichments. We know what he's doing with destroying our monuments by taking away our safety nets. And we need to be able to keep talking about what he's doing and the damage he's doing without seeing his visual with every article that comes out. And that's what that's what really gets me. Do we really have to put up with his picture with every news about him? Are we not sick of looking at him? Are we not embarrassed to give him a vehicle to perpetuate his existence in the periphery of our minds by having a mugshot of him, having pictures of him with every single story that's associated with him? It's not just him those stories are associated with. There are several other picture choices that people can make. Why do we have to keep putting his picture on articles? And that goes for every single article, news media, whether it be independent media or mainstream media. Cut out his picture already. I mean, can we not sequester him to a part of our mind where we hone in on his corruption and his crimes and his sabotaging policies instead of giving him a platform along with all that information so we have to keep him in the periphery of our minds? His visual remains. And the visual matters. The visual of taking down the pride flag from the National Stonewall Monument matters. The visual of his picture everywhere matters. It has an impact on his staying power for him in his benefit. And why are we going to do that? It's enough of Trump. Why don't we focus on other people? Why don't we focus on the ideas that Donald Trump is going against, or the ideas that we need to adopt that Donald Trump is aggressively pushing against, like renewable technology, like safety net for vast majority of Americans, like lowering the cost of living? We are focusing on Donald Trump enough of focusing on him. I know that he still has 3 years in office, but we don't have to give him headspace in our heads for those 3 remaining years. We can and we really should consider ways of conveying his actions without spreading his image. And I mean, today's brief talk, is about the image and the impact a visual can have in keeping somebody in the periphery of your mind. And to me, I believe it has an impact. For me personally, it's traumatic and embarrassing. Every time I see his picture, I'm like, oh, what has happened now? What has he said? What has he done? And how does that impact me as an American? How does that impact my fellow Americans? How does that impact our image to the world? You know, with the Epstein scandal, I'm getting comments on my videos saying, this is the culture. No, I refuse to accept that what Donald Trump and what his crooked and his child trafficking friends are doing and have done is part of American culture. It is an aberration. It is what's wrong with American culture, and it is something that we need to uproot from American culture. So America needs to stop associating itself with Donald Trump and his ideologies by repeating them instead of letting people know and then killing it right there. Okay, great. He said that something racist. That's another notch on his belt of racism. And you talk about that and then you drop it. You don't have to perpetuate the racist images that he wants you to amplify, because otherwise he wouldn't have put that up about, say, the Obamas, the most recent racist thing that he did. He was forced to take that post down, but it stayed up for 12 hours, and he wanted it amplified. And so we need to stand up and say that these things are not American, that Donald Trump is anti-American, and let's talk about Donald Trump in that context, how everything he is doing is anti-American. The place we are in our standing in the world, in our soft power in the world, is because of what Donald Trump has done. The impact on the world on just by getting rid of the U.S. aid program, cutting it by 87%, has caused the deaths of thousands and thousands of people, including children. And we are not being told the facts about that. No one is talking about that. But that is anti-American. For decades and decades, we have provided aid to other countries who are in dire need. That is part of our culture. That was part of our culture. Social Security is part of our culture. Medicare is part of our culture. A robust police system that works to the benefit of the public is part of our culture. There's been abuses of that power, and that is also part of a culture that needs to be removed and reformed. That's why police departments are more and more going towards community policing instead of heavy-handed policing that we saw in the 80s and 90s. And even in the 2000s, even with George Floyd in the 21st century. So there are ugly things in our culture. Donald Trump is one of them. But that is not defining American culture. Those are aberrations and defects in our culture that we need to perfect and cure as we move forward. When it becomes a matter of our identity as Americans, it is important for us to build through our actions and our ideologies a nation that is respectful to humanity, that is humane, that is based in the rule of law. And Donald Trump is none of those things. He's not humane. He does not follow the law. He is corrupt. He has the ugliest features of anything that is American. And we need to start talking about that instead of plastering his face on every article that is even tangentially related to him. With that said, thank you for listening. I'm grateful that you're listening to my rant, and thank you for subscribing. I will talk to you soon.